community.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're going hard because we sure aren't going home. Welcome to season 2 of the I Am Podcast, where your voice matters. Let's get it cracking. Hailing from the big little town of Morton, Texas, by way of Abilene Christian University, the owner and CEO of Extreme Heat Sports, build your energy and put your hands together for LaQuita Thompson!
Community. Hi, it's LaQuita Thompson, the founder of the I Am Podcast. And today I would like to share with you my story of community. Many times you'll hear me speak about how wonderful my grandparents were. I grew up with them in a small community of Morton, Texas, and I watched them give so much of themselves. Not only to the city of Morton, but to surrounding communities. And as I look back on that, I see now that I did not understand really what community was and why. I watched my grandmother as a school teacher, very active in providing things for families who needed things, who were hungry, who needed food, who needed clothing, who needed shelter. I watched my grandfather, be a coach, a referee, a Boy Scout master, and all these things, and picking up kids and taking them to participate in softball and basketball and the tournaments that he would hold, and all of the money that they would spend to make sure that young kids, that the youth of the community had something to involve themselves with to stay out of trouble. I watched my grandmother, and this goes back to when I was very young. I watched her sacrifice when people would come knock on the door in need of things, and they would provide those things. I watched them. And at the time, I didn't really understand it and was like, why are they doing all of this? Why is all of these things so important to them? I watched them give of themselves within the church and take on leadership roles, and just really how they inspired people all over West Texas. And I really did not know the impact until their funerals, when I would hear people of those communities speak of how great they were and what an impact they made in their lives and how they were able to be successful because of what my grandparents were able to do for them, and how they inspired them and how they pushed them, and how for many of them they were parents for them. I watched them share love, compassion, charity. I watched them. And without realizing, in my watching them, not realizing that legacy would also live inside of me to do the same. One particular story that sticks in my mind to this day, but it's about my great-grandmother. I call her Big Mama. Everybody knows Big Mama. And I remember this one time there was this family who was very poor. And the kids that come to school, sometimes they may have had to have worn the same clothes all the time, or didn't have food, or just would appear to just not be as upkept as most of us were. And I remember my big mama. Now, my big mama didn't drive. She would walk places. Now, Morton is a small town where you can walk where you needed to go. No big deal. We had one traffic light, one Dairy Queen, that kind of small town. And I remember my big mama she walked to one of the general stores there, and I believe the name of it at the time was St. Clair's. This was like the TJ Maxx's of today. And she went to that store with one thing in mind, and that was to purchase some brand new jeans and I believe shirts for the kid of their family who we consider to be poor. And she purchased those jeans and shirts for the little boy, and she took them to give them to the mother of the little boy, and the mother rejected it. Out of pride or even embarrassment, but she rejected that gift from my big mama. But that didn't deter her. That didn't change her heart. That didn't change her mission. And that didn't change her love or her compassion for what she was doing. And I remember that. I remember that. And that particular story has stuck in my mind all these many years. And it touched me. But even though at the moment I really didn't understand it. And so I ask you, what are you doing in the community in which you live to give back to it? You hear us always talk about, man, when I graduate, I'm getting up out of here. I'm never coming back here. I am guilty of that also. When I left Morton, Texas, I was saying, you know what? I'm never coming back to this small town. When I get out and I get to the big city and the city life and I make it, I'm not going back. You know, you all those things that we say. But my heart was touched, and I realized that the legacy that my grandparents and my great-grandparents instilled in me, lived in me, and it had to be activated. So every year when we travel to Morton, Texas, under the Eddie and Thelma Lewis Scholarship Foundation, we're there to give back to that community. We're there to make a presence, to make an impact, to influence those kids, to let them know you can become what you dream of becoming. We give a camp, and we give out school supplies to those that need them. And we're there for 3 days, and we do camp activities. We do motivational things. We have a ceremony at the end to make them feel special, to show them love. And we also get to fellowship with family that we haven't seen in a while, classmates that we graduated with. But it's all about community and the legacy that my grandparents and great-grandparents left behind for us to carry on. What are you doing in the community in which you live? What are you doing to mentor the youth that we see every day, who we say is a lost generation? Well, what are we doing to bring them back? What are we doing with our schools? It breaks my heart when you hear about our black schools being closed because of low test scores or because of gang violence or all these things that they're classifying our schools, and we're doing nothing about it. What are you going to do about your community in which you live? I want to encourage us to stop just being focused on getting out and getting away, but coming back to reach out to that generation, the youth, the women, the families of that community that you left, to come back and give. Give them the steps and the resources that you now have access to, and help them also get out and become successful. That's what it's about. The success that we have and the resources that we have and the opportunities that we get are never about you. It's always about mentorship and the next generation. Right now, our next generation, our millennials, they need us. They need us. They need to see us active. They need to see us supporting them. They need to see us. So I encourage you. I encourage you that even when it feels like what you're doing is not making a difference, you may not ever see that it made a difference. You may die and never know the impact that you've made within the community in which you live. But it's not about what you can see. Many of our ancestors, many have died and have never seen the results of their sacrifice. They have never lived or experienced anything that they spoke about, that they died for. But here we are living some of those very freedoms today. What are you doing to help the community in which you live? I am so lucky that God blessed me with the passion of sports, and I'm able to work with youth. And though I use the tool of basketball as my resource, but my goal is always to inspire and to motivate them, to help educate them, to help prepare them for the world that they are getting ready to step into. And I love every opportunity I get with camps and clinics and training and traveling across the country to help our youth, especially our girls, because it's about giving back. It's about instilling in our next generation. It's about asking them questions and getting a feel of what they're thinking and how they're feeling. It's about going to where they are and meeting them where they are and begin to just work with them and have patience and stick it out with them. What are you doing within the community in which you live? I encourage each leader, coach, business, entrepreneur, teacher, preacher, whatever your role is in life right now, I encourage you to don't just become successful for yourself and make a better place for your family and for your life, but to go back where you came from and see what the need is and just begin to see where your gift fits in where the need is in that community, and let's give back. This is an exciting time for 2021. So many wonderful things have happened in the presence of tragedy and in a pandemic. So many wonderful things are happening, and the door is open for so many more opportunities to come through the act of community. Investors, business owners, give back to your community. Give back to your black schools. Give back to the HBCUs. Come back and mentor your youth in business. Come back and get your youth and teach them about economics. Come back and let's teach our youth about family, about marriage, about motherhood, fatherhood. Let's get our community together so that we can truly prosper and grow together. What are you going to do in which the community you live and were born into? Don't turn your backs. Don't turn your backs on the kids. Don't turn your backs on our youth. Don't turn your backs on our young adult. Don't turn your backs on young women who are getting pregnant easy or who are choosing abortions. Don't turn your backs. Don't become so self-righteous and so high and mighty that you turn your backs on your community and you let it die and you let them take it. Let's come back. Let's revive it. Let's revive it. Even if you have one youth that you mentor, one person that you're able to mentor and watch them through the development and the process and watch them progress through life and make it, that one will then spread their wings and do the same. For I am a living witness to that. Everything that I watched my grandparents, my great-grandparents, my parents, my aunts, and my uncles, everything that I watched them do out of act of love is now how I live my life and what the mission is of Extreme Heat Sports Management. So I encourage you today to be about your community, to be about your community. Whatever your gifts, whatever your talent is, see how it fits. See what the need is. See how it fits and combine them together, and let's rebuild. Let's rejuvenate. Let's inspire. Let's motivate. Let's mentor. Let's show love and charity. Let's deal out of compassion. For we have been given another opportunity. So let's not waste it. The power lives in us. We can do it, but it will have to do it together. It does take a village to raise a child. So let's not forget about our children. Let's not forget about our single mothers. Coaches, don't forget about our B and C list athletes. Don't forget about our kids in these schools. Don't forget about our youth who are on the streets. Let's not judge them because they're in gangs or they're doing something that we think is just completely outright wrong. Don't turn your backs. Find ways. Start nonprofit organizations. Something to come back and get them. And let's have patience and let's teach them and let's do it together. Let's not work separately, but let's find ways to work together to build up our communities and where we live. Spread our wings. Find ways to finance ideas and projects. Find ways to partner with school districts and schools and organizations. Find ways. Let's find ways together to connect. Let's connect. Let's connect. Thank you for your time, and I hope you're inspired today to give back. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the I Am Podcast, brought to you by Extreme Heat Sports and Fat Bars Records and Multimedia. We'll be back soon with another inspiring story from the voices of today. See you soon.